Welcome to English on Air. This is a podcast to help non-native English speakers to widen their English. We interview nice people, and then we have Jessica's Gems, where she asks me questions and I try to give some insight into the meanings. Early in 2021, I was lucky enough to interview my niece, Carly Tancredi, who has an interesting story to tell. Hope you enjoy. You're living now in a beautiful part of the world. I think so beautiful. But what's the story? How did you end up in southern Italy, in Lecce? Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Lecce, okay. Yeah.
So tell the story. How did you end up being there?
It was thanks to my best friend Glenn, who I met actually at theatre school. It was his musical theatre school that I trained at, and we remained really, really good friends. And it was actually his sister was living in Lecce at the time, and it was thanks to him actually that I was at a point in my life where I felt after the acting, I did some acting of course, and then it was a low point in my career. And I just felt like I needed change, and I was not feeling great at the time. And I said, I really want to do something different. And I actually really wanted to learn Italian because, as you know, the background that I have with my father being Italian, but we never actually learn at home the language, the Italian language. I thought, I'd love that. I'm going to go to Italy, Lecce, where my best friend's sister was living at the time, because he actually said, look, if you want to go, you can stay with my sister, go there for a month or 2 months or whatever you want. And I went.
I didn't know this. I've not spoken to you about this before.
Oh, right.
But
Okay.
do you remember talking to me at that time?
I don't think so.
Oh, that's really funny, because I always thought that I might have been the catalyst why you went to Italy. Because I was living in Finland, and I remember speaking to you at that time. I think we Skyped many, years ago.
Yeah.
And I remember that you were in this kind of place where you was not enjoying auditioning, and you felt flat. And I said to you, do you know what? If I was in your shoes, the one thing I would do is just take a break and go to Italy and learn the language, because you are half Italian. You don't speak Italian because your dad never spoke to you in Italian. Yeah. So I always thought I was something to do with that, but then you don't remember that.
You were as well, more on the teaching side of things, because I knew that you'd gone off to a foreign country and you were teaching English. So it was a mix of my friend Glenn going, here's an opportunity. And I do remember always thinking, like, my Uncle John has gone to a foreign country and he's teaching English, and that also gave me the idea. Okay. So I think it was all kind of linked.
It was almost meant to be.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
Yeah. Yes, definitely. The fact that my, Glenn's sister was already here in Lecce, she found out about Lecce, would you believe, because she was studying Italian on a course in London, studying Italian, and her Italian teacher was from Lecce. And she went, oh yeah, I'd like to go and see Lecce. And it was all thanks that she'd found out about this southern Italian city that really, to be honest, most English people probably wouldn't have heard of before, Lecce, apart from they've got a football team that was quite important back in the day. But yeah, it was thanks to her that I actually found out about Lecce. I've never actually in my life have heard of such a place, Lecce, because it's so in the south of Italy that it's not really, when you think of Italy, you go, oh yeah, Rome, Milan,
You say Rome, Milan, yeah.
Yeah, it's automatic. But actually Lecce, most of my English friends who I said to, I live in Lecce, they kind of go, oh, where's that then? What part of Italy is that? Because it's a bit of a hidden jewel down here in the south. It is. It's a hidden gem of a city.
Okay, so go back, because we're talking quite a few years now.
Yeah.
Go back. What was your experiences when you went? Because that's a big move. That's a big move. And at the time, you were doing quite a lot of acting stuff. You were kind of, is Carly going to be a big star kind of thing in the family?
Yeah. I had a good, 5 years of doing that. And I don't know if you remember, I actually went and worked on the Disney cruise. And it was coming back from there hitting our hometown at the time, Sutton, after going around the Caribbean and America, getting back to midwinter and just finding myself at the time there, feeling quite lost. And, you know, I'd gone off and had new experiences, and then I found myself again in Sutton, and it just I felt so like I wanted more at the time. And I think definitely working on the cruise, it made me realise the beauties of the world that are out there. The beaches, the sea, the sun, and that is very important, I think, for well-being. It made me realise that, and I thought, when I got here to Lecce, I thought, because they've got a gorgeous area, it's called Salento, and gorgeous beaches, and it just made me think, wow, what a combination of gorgeous beaches and then a little historical city centre that exists as well, which is lovely as well. So
you got to Lecce. Yeah. How did it go? How did you? So you felt good straight away? How did it come?
Not immediately. It felt really good. It was a bit of a Bridget Jones moment of, at the time, I was cycling around on a nice city bike through the historical centre with the sun and the scarf flowing around, thinking, oh yeah, I did it. Freedom. I feel good, because I was at a fairly low point when I was back in Sutton, and it felt like, wow, liberation at the time. But of course, as you probably know yourself, cultural differences. When you first get to a foreign country, there are many, many cultural differences that you have to kind of adapt to. So certain things, were different, and particularly learning a language. I didn't know the language when I got here. And just here in the South, not many people could speak good English at the time. And we're talking about 15 years ago. I just remember having a constant headache of trying to understand people and learning really super quick a new language.
You did learn super quick.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of my kind of questions that I wanted to ask. Why did you learn? How did you learn so quickly? Because you know, I saw a couple of videos of you at the time, and very quickly, I mean, I don't know how long you were there, but it wasn't more than a few months, and then suddenly you seemed quite fluent in what you were saying. And also what came was all the gesticulation. So you turned into this sort of, obviously you look quite Italian. You can blend in because you are half Italian, but suddenly you spoke with your hands a lot more, like an Italian. So you were like a chameleon. Yeah. You really sort of embraced the language, from my perspective of the videos I was seeing and the things I was hearing. And then you suddenly looked more Italian. Yeah. So it brought out this Italian side of you.
Probably so.
Do you think, what was your secret to learning a language so quickly?
I actually made sure that I was around Italian people as much as possible, just the whole time with Italian people. And I think that was the key. Just listening and repeating. I always found myself, like, once I'd repeated a word 3 times, where I was trying to obviously survive and get through it and converse with people, and you realise that, once I've, you say that a few times, it kind of eventually sticks. So I think it was just, 1, being around a lot of Italian people, and 2, obviously I was writing down things, keeping a logbook, new words, but I did actually really learn by ear the language, just being around people, being here in the country and not having much choice but to actually converse in Italian, because I have no choice really, I had to survive, so that's what I did.
You've got 2 brilliant ingredients straight away. 1, you couldn't just resort to English all the time. Yeah. And 2, you made sure that you were around Italians, which is not so easy if you're struggling with the language. Yeah. Kind of feel the odd one out or the slow one. Yeah. But also, do you think that your training in music and musical theatre helped with you picking up the sounds of the language? Because I'm really into this phonetics thing for teaching English. I think it's really important. Do you think you had an edge because of the musical theatre and picking up sound?
Definitely so. I think